I want to continue today meditating, of course, on the readings, taking our cue from the readings at the end of the Christmas season in this Epiphany tide in which we find ourselves, but meditating on them, of course, in light of all that goes on around us. And so today is sort of part 2 of what will be a 3-part preaching series that can help us to pray through what happened on Wednesday here in our city. The man with leprosy, who was, it says, full of leprosy. Okay, this was not like somebody just at the beginning of the disease, would have been exiled from Jewish society. Okay, he was not somebody who could live in the towns. And yet, he heard something. He heard a story, right? He would not have been present to see the miracles of Jesus, but in a normal, ordinary interaction, he heard a story. And what does he do? His heart leaps with possibility, with hope. And he doesn't prepare a theological treatise. He doesn't prepare any kind of a regal anything. He goes into the town. He flouts all of the rules. It's very possible that as he went into the town, people would have been throwing things at him. Okay? But his heart has been so moved and elated with the possibility of a cure that he runs to the one who is capable of that. And he just says to Jesus, "Lord, if you wish, you can make me clean." In that one, again, very ordinary, very basic statement is contained enough faith, is implied enough faith to bring about this miracle. We know that throughout the gospel, faith brings about miracles. And as St. John said yesterday in the part of his first letter that we read yesterday, our faith is the victory that conquers the world. It doesn't require any kind of violence or anything, just faith, and just not even extraordinary faith, just the ordinary faith of, I heard something, I trusted the guy who told me, and I ran here, and I think that you can do this for me. Right? This is not somebody sitting in a monastery far away. This is just an ordinary guy with a sickness. And that ordinary faith brought about a miracle that changed the world. It's amazing. The ordinary is oftentimes the fulcrum. The ordinary is that which determines whether something happens or doesn't happen, succeeds or fails. And it's always interesting to me that people talk about our local church, our Archdiocese of Washington, as if it were some kind of extraordinary place. Oh, the Archdiocese of, so-and-so is being sent to Washington. That's very important. Or, this is so powerful and important. If they knew us, boy, would they be shocked. Because we are very ordinary, right? Our population is not a huge population of Catholics like New York or Los Angeles or somewhere like that. Our people are not tremendously powerful people. Even those members of Congress or members of the departments and so on, you talk to them, you meet them, they're ordinary people. And the ordinariness of them is actually what gives us, it's a place where faith can be engendered, just like the ordinary encounters that happened here. I trust less people who appear to be extraordinary. I don't know where that comes from. I'm not sure what that's all about. But when somebody approaches me and encounters me, and I encounter them with ordinary life, that's something that we can see, it's something that we can believe in, something we can love. Just like St. John said, again, yesterday in the first reading. It was a failure of the ordinary that caused what happened on Wednesday. A failure of families around family tables saying to each other either, yes, this is true, or no, this is not true. Either saying, don't you think you're getting a little overexcited, or not. It was a failure of the ordinary in terms of the ordinary service that society should render to people so that they don't end up in a situation of such desperation that they listen to lies and fantasies made up by media personalities and so on, or even political leaders. Right? The ordinary charity that we owe to each other so that none of us fall so far that we are put into these weird circumstances. It was a failure of the ordinary. It was also an assault on the ordinary. The people who work in the Capitol, the people who live here in Washington, your friends and mine, people we work with, people we go to bars with, all this, they are ordinary people. And they're wonderful. And they work tirelessly, day in and day out, to serve other wonderful, ordinary people. And so it was, to say that it was the great and the powerful and so on that was attacked on Wednesday, there's some truth to that, but the overwhelming truth is that ordinary people got hurt. Ordinary people were terrorized. And I want to tell you 3 stories of ordinary Washingtonians and encounters with them that have so moved my heart and over the years, and I could tell you many, many more than that because of the parishioners and people I've served. One of them was a woman I met on Capitol Hill, and I happened to run into her in the metro on my way to the gym, of all places. And we kind of had to do a double take because I was in shorts and a t-shirt and she was off duty. And I said, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And fine. I said, "I see you every day at Mass, but I don't know your name because we always go in opposite directions." I said, "What do you do?" And she said, "Oh, Father, it's not very exciting." I said, "Well, tell me, what do you do?" And she said, "Well, I work in the Office of Legislative Counsel. My job is assigning reference numbers and chapters and titles in the code to every piece of legislation that comes out of Congress. Every piece of paper has a reference in some book somewhere." And she said, "My job is to be part of putting that all together." And I said to her, "Oh no, on the contrary, I think that's fascinating." And she said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, because one day some lawyer looking for, the virtuous dissent or the case or the appeal that has not yet had its time or whatever is going to be able to find just the right line of law because of what you're doing today, and it could change the course of everything. You have no idea." And she kind of brightened up and she said, "Oh, thank you. But just an ordinary woman doing this work, That's who we are. And that's what gives me faith. It's what gives me faith that one day somebody will come along and find what this lady has filed off in a book or a box somewhere, and it will be for the good of our community because of ordinary people. The second story is of a doctor from a small town in Pennsylvania. And I won't even say what kind of, because I don't want to narrow in on him or whatever, but he was a doctor from a small town in Pennsylvania, and somebody came to him and said, "You should run for office." And he said, "Why would people vote for me? Who am I?" And they said, "You're the guy who is the only specialist of your type within 30 miles in any direction. You have touched and had faith and trust with all these people who have ever come through your door. They know you, they trust you, they let you touch them. And if you say that you believe something, they'll believe you. And that would make you an excellent leader." And sure enough, he ran for Congress and he won. But an ordinary guy with a family. I know him, I've baptized his grandchildren and so on. And the fact that an ordinary person like that, who other ordinary people in small towns in rural Pennsylvania are confident and trust him to touch them, I can trust somebody like that. I won't always agree with somebody like that, but I can trust them. Faith can be engendered, right? What was the third story I was going to tell you? Oh, the third story. I was talking to some of our parishioners here at the parish, and one of them revealed to me in the midst of, actually a few of them revealed to me in the midst of conversation, that at various points in their life, they had volunteered to work for the Board of Elections, either in their home counties or here in DC, and to count votes, and to do all of this. The The most ordinary people, you and me, our neighbors living in our apartment buildings, people that we know. And you know what? If you've ever seen on the news the people counting the votes, or the people certifying the votes or whatever, or even like the secretaries of state of the different states, nobody's ever heard of these people before. They have no vast, wealthy career in front of them because of their, why? Because they're ordinary people doing stuff that 99% of the time nobody even knows is happening. Nobody ever sees their face. I can trust somebody like that. I can trust that people like our parishioners, counting votes, do so assiduously and with faith and with a commitment to the common good. Because whether there are parishioners here in DC or people off in Iowa or Idaho or wherever, just ordinary folks. And in the ordinary, we generally choose to do the good, right? Just like an ordinary guy telling a friend of his who's sick, there's this guy named Jesus, and he might be able to help you. And then that ordinary sick guy running to Jesus, dealing with the crowds and his leprosy and everything else, and saying, I believe that you can do this for me. And that engendered a miracle. So, the ordinary might very well be, brothers and sisters, the fulcrum on which the balance of our civil peace rests. And so we have to pray, not for extraordinary things or extraordinary heroes or whatever, but we have to pray and be assiduously, sacredly committed to fostering ordinary virtue in our own households, among our friends, so that the ordinary can be what we live once more. Amen?